Fusion Mobile, quality e-learning experience on the go.
Welcome everyone to Fusion Mobile e-learning platform. My name is Jacob Uchenna and we are still on our study on economics. Here now we have another study session on the theory of supply. The other time we talked about demand. Demand was all about consumption and what you could get, buy at a given price, place and price. Now the contrasting aspect of demand is now supply. Now, supply by definition is the total quantity of products which a producer or manufacturer is willing to offer for sale at a given time, place and price. Now, meaning that the supply is viewed from the producer's perspective while demand is viewed from the consumer's perspective. So everything that has to do with demand relates to the consumer, while everything that has to relate with supply is for the producer. Now, the law of supply here states that the higher the price, the higher the quantity the producer is willing to supply to the market, and vice versa, meaning that when prices go low, then quantity supplied also reduces. Supply could be seen also from the individual aspect and from the market aspect. That means we have also individual supply and we have market or aggregate supply. Individual supply, which is also referred to as unit supply, is talking about the total quantity just one unit or one manufacturer or one firm can offer to the market for sale. The market is actually we're actually looking at is to give to satisfy the level of demand. As it is, supply in this case is just looking at one manufacturer. But by the time we talk about the market supply, or what we call the aggregate supply, we are looking at the total quantity of commodities which the suppliers of a certain commodity, that means an industry this time around, is willing to offer for sale. That means the total quantity of a certain category of product which is offered to the market for sale at specific prices and given the conditions of production. Going down the line, we have the determinants of supply. The determinants of supply talks about the factors that affect supply. And they are as follows. Number one, we have the price of the commodity. We have the extent of demand, or what we call the size of the market. We also have the level of technology of production. That means how resources are combined. Also, we have the availability of storage facilities. We have taxation, government regulations, weather and climate. We also have population. These things, some of the things that affect demand also affect supply. Now, why is that? Because Adam Smith in certain theory says that, in his classical theory says that demand creates its own supply. So which means without there being a ready demand, then supply is defeated. Nobody consumes the output of production. Now, knowing the various factors that determines the level of supply or the quantity, the supply, then we move down to talking about supply schedule and supply curves. A supply schedule is a table showing the relationship or the quantities quantities supplied of a commodity at a given period of time with their relating prices. Meaning that as there's a fixed price, there's definitely a quantity that will be supplied with it as another fixed price. So those various prices with the relating quantities demanded is referred to as, that's presented on a tabular form, is referred to as the supply schedule. While when the supply schedule is presented on in a graphical form, which is the relationship, plotting the relationship between price and quantity supplied on the graph, you call that the demand curve. Now, with an illustration, this here is what we refer to as a supply schedule. The supply schedule is a tabular presentation of the various prices, the various quantities supplied at their various prices. Now, the curve showing the relationship, plotting the relationship or showing the relationship between price and quantity supplied is referred to as the supply curve. Now, we can convert or we can turn that to a curve. On a supply curve graph, the x is the quantity, the y axis is the price, the vertical axis represents the price. Now, to do this, quantity I have, 1,000, 2,000, 3, 4, and 5. And over here, we have 200, 400, 600, 800, 1,000. At the price of 300, you have 1,000. 300 is in the middle of 200 and 400. You have 300. Then 400, we have 1,500. 400, 1,500 is in between here. 200 and 500, 2 bars. Then 500, we have 2,000 in between. 600, 2005, which is here. 600, 2005. Then 1,000, 4,000. 1,000, 4,000. So we have something like this. So this is our supply curve. Supply curve. So supply schedule, supply curve. So from a supply curve, or a supply schedule rather, we could actually pick up our supply function. The supply function, just like demand function, is the relationship between, the mathematical relationship between price and quantity supplied. Quantity supplied and price, unlike demand, have a direct relationship, meaning that when price increases, quantity supplied increases in the same direction. when price reduces, quantity supplied reduces in the same direction. So they have a direct or positive relationship between price and quantity. Now, going from there, it means my supply function, that supply function QS is a function of price as well. QS is a function of price. But mathematically, QS is equal to A plus BP. If it were demand, here would be minus, negative. But since it's a supply function and there's a positive relationship between price and quantity, supply would have, the price variable will have a positive sign. We could do the same thing. We could form a supply equation using a supply schedule. What we need to do is use this same linear equation, that P minus P1 over Q minus Q1 is equal to P2 minus P1 by Q2 minus Q1. That means we have to pick two extreme points, or 2 points on the schedule to use as the first point that has P1 and Q1, and the second one that has P1 and Q1. Let's assume we pick the first and the last point, this point 1 and point 5. That means I will have P1 will be equal to 300, Q1 will be 1000, 2 bars. P2 will be 1000 naira, and Q2 will be 4000, 2 bars. All right. So substituting into this, we will have P minus 300 by Q minus 1000 equals 1000 less 300 by 4000 less 1000, meaning I would have P minus 300 by Q less 1000 equals 700 by 3000. And now, this goes with those two. We have 7 over 30. P by 300 equals by Q minus 1000 will give us 7 over 300. Over 30. Cross multiplying this with that, I will get 30 multiplying 7 minus 300, P minus 300 equals 7 multiplying Q less 1000, leaving us with P, 30P minus 9000 equals 7Q minus 7000. And that means I would have this coming over here, 7Q equals 30p minus 9,000 plus 7,000. That leaves me with 7q equals 30p minus 2,000. We could leave this way, or we could actually divide by 7. That is q equals 30p minus 2,000 by all divided by 7. That is the supply function, or the supply equation for this thing we have here. So, knowing what the supply function and the supply equation is, this is the supply function, this is the supply equation, that's the supply schedule, then we have also known about the supply curve. Then, I would say you should watch out for the few questions that will pop on your screen, and you have a look at it, and we'll be back in a jiffy. You're welcome back. So on the outline, we have the next point is the change in supply and change in quantity supplied. Change in supply actually refers to the movement of the supply curve from one point to another, either to the left or to the right. The reason for such a movement is just a change in every other factor that affects demand, except a change in the price of the product. The price of the product only leads to change in quantity demand is supplied when other factors are constant. That means change in demand, change in supply change in supplied, in quantity in supply, we would have this as our S and this as S1, S1, and I have this as S2, S2. Evidently, what we see is supply moving this way. That means a movement to the right depicts an increase in supply. A movement to the left depicts a decrease in supply. Then, but the factor, like we said, that results in this is just every other factor that affects supply except the change in the price of the commodity. But change in quantity supplied, on the other hand, is a movement along the supply curve which comes up as a result of a change in the price of the commodity. So, meaning that if this is change in quantity supplied, then change in supply, then change in quantity supplied will be seen in this form. Of course, from movement from A to B is a result of a change in this from point 1 by P1 to P2, and from Q1 to Q2. So this is change in quantity supplied, the other one is change in supply. So we move down to the next one, types of supply. Types of supply, unlike types of demand, types of supply are three. You have the joint supply, you have the competitive supply, then you have the composite supply. So, looking at the types of supply, joint supply, which is talking about joint products. Now, products that actually, it's a kind of supply where the supply of two or more products, two products are from one source. Meaning that the supply of one leads to the supply of the other, or affects the supply of the other. Now, joint products and byproducts go with that kind of thing. For instance, production of palm oil increases the production of palm kernel. Also, production of cassava or gari increases the production of cassava flour. Both of them, one does not really impede the other, but they are all supplied from one, they are produced or supplied from one source. So if you have a joint product, then you are talking about what? The joint supply. Now, competitive supply, in this case, the competitive supply is talking about a situation of joint product. In this case, we talk about what? Byproducts, where when you produce, when you process gari, you get starch, you get cassava flour and stuff like that. When you produce palm oil, byproducts come out as kernel and so on. But competitive supply is a kind of supply where the supply of one commodity affects the supply of the other. Now, the other one is supply of one commodity leading to the supply of the other. This one, supply of one commodity affects the supply of the other, meaning that these two commodities are produced from the same material. So the material used for one cannot be used for the production of the other. For instance, if a producer makes Bonvita, Cadbury produces Bonvita and produces Chocomilo. Once there's an increase in the supply of Bonvita, because both things are produced from one raw material, cocoa, the material used for producing Bonvita can no longer be used for producing Chocomilo. So which means the supply of Bonvita would impede the supply of Chocomilo and so on and so forth. Then the other one, which is a composite supply, is talking about the total supplies that can be made possible from the supply of one item. It's related to the composite demand somehow, but the summation of all supplies that can be made to a particular source or from a particular source is talking about the composite supply. Now, moving down from there, we have the last on the list, which is elasticity of supply. Elasticity of supply. Elasticity of supply. Just the way we have demand. Demand has its own types of elasticity, but they have the same basis. Elasticity of supply is the measure of the degree of responsiveness or change in the supply of a commodity when there's a change in price. Now, because supply relates to the producer does not maximize satisfaction, he incurs cost. So there are two types or two variants of elasticity of supply. Types of supply elasticity we have, of course, like the other one, we have price elasticity of supply. Then we have cost elasticity of supply. Price elasticity of supply and cost elasticity of supply. The price elasticity of supply, like the one of demand, is the change, degree of change or degree of responsiveness of supply to a change in the price of the commodity. Definitely, the price elasticity of supply, which is also measured by the coefficient E, is measured by what? Percentage change in quantity supplied by a percentage change in price. Now, having these, we could also still do the same thing. Of course, elasticity of supply could also be calculated by change in quantity supplied by change in the price multiplied by initial price by initial quantity supplied, where definitely percentage change in quantity supplied is equal to change in quantity by initial quantity multiplied by 100. 1 percentage change in price is equal to change in price by initial price multiplied by 100 by 1. So in any case, you first of all calculate this, then use this formula, or you can go direct to the other one. Now, having this in mind, of course, just like price elasticity of demand, we also have degrees of price elasticity of supply. Price elasticity of supply has also 5 variants. 5 variants, which definitely are as follows. Types of price elasticity of supply. You have the unitary elastic, we have the perfectly elastic, perfectly inelastic, elastic, and inelastic. The values and coefficients, the determinants are the same as that of the price elasticity of demand. Coefficient of elasticity for the perfectly inelastic is 0. Coefficient for this is 1. This is above 1, and this is between 0 and 1. Now, having known that, the next point of call is the cost elasticity of supply. The cost elasticity of supply is defined as the degree of change in quantity supplied of a product when there is a change or a given percentage change in the cost of production. So in other words, we are measuring cost of production, total cost of production in relation to quantity supplied. That means that my cost elasticity this time is equal to percentage change in quantity supplied over percentage change in total costs. That is, you have cost elasticity equals change in quantity by change in total cost, TC or C, multiplied by TC by quantity. Either of these talk of the two types of elasticity of supply, price elasticity and cost elasticity of supply. Finishing that, we've come to the end of the study session for this period, and the question will be shown on your screen once more. Attempt it, and where you have issues, get back to the video. Thank you.